Let's get into home ownership. So we're going to slice this a couple different ways, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to slice this a couple different ways, all right? If you are not sharing this with your friends and family, if you are not subscribed to the Patreon, make sure that you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Let's get it in, all right?
Experts from a perfect storm has caused evictions to soar like never before in Harris County. Today alone, nearly 500 eviction cases were heard. ABC 13's Nick Dotario was at one of those courtrooms today where the judge told him it was something that she has never seen before. Nick?
When the judge got a look at the docket and she saw something she had never seen before, she said
this is a little low, but we're going to get through it anyway.
Been a really serious situation over the past couple of weeks. More people are struggling to afford rent, a problem experts fear will only get worse in the coming months.
Or if you receive any type of government assistance, you qualify.
Y'all know where Harris County is? Y'all know where Harris County is? Harris County is in Houston. Houston is the new Atlanta. Oh, is that Atlanta? Hold on, I thought Harris County was Houston. Let me double check my sources. Where is Harris County? Harris County is in Texas. It is Houston. Harris County is in Houston. Let's continue.
You have to have both.
Leah Gould was all ears as she talked to people at different tables. She was soaking up information because she was worried about what was to come.
I'm not going to lie, it's not easy anymore.
Gould's struggling because of rent, an issue that landed her at Harris County Justice of the Peace Precinct 7 Place 1's courtroom.
It's kind of like tough because I don't know where I'm going to go after if I do get evicted.
Gould wasn't alone. Judge Wanda Adams says she's never had a day like today inside her courtroom. Originally, she had more than 140 eviction cases on the docket.
This is the largest I've had since I've been on the bench for the last 2.5 years, almost 3 years.
A growing concern not only in Adams' courtroom.
She said this is the largest that she's had as far as the amount of evictions that she's ever seen come across her courtroom. The docket is full. Absolutely full. Before I start to have conversations and give y'all the game, I got to give y'all the reality check, right? I have to give y'all that reality check. And the reality is, it's hard out here. You know, it's hard out here for a pimp. You ain't on it. When you got to get that money for the rent, you ain't on it. It's hard. Everybody moved to Houston. Everybody voted blue. It's starting to get cold outside. Boogeyman is coming for you. You ain't got to worry about paying rent. You ain't got to worry about being nice. It ain't no man that's going to help you. You going to have to go and live van life. Let's get that money and go get evicted. She going to throw you on your face. Judge ain't trying to hear none of that shit. She don't even want to hear your case. She tired of you coming in her courtroom still complaining. Why don't you go back to baby daddy? That's where your main is. Yeah, we gonna freestyle our songs from now on. We not tapping in the yin yang twin yin yang in this thing. We ain't about to go into Terrence Howard. No, it's hard out here for a pimp. You ain't know, nigga. Listen, the judge is horrified, absolutely horrified that all of these eviction notices from everybody that wanted to move over to Houston, y'all was listening to Drake, Houston, Atlanta, Vegas. Houston, Atlanta, Vegas. Y'all wanted to have Houston, Atlanta, Vegas down there in Houston, and the judge said, listen, in Harris County, we got an egregious amount of evictions going on here.
Substantially worse because in any given month this year, it's been higher than the average in 2019 by anywhere from 20 to 70%.
January Advisors Principal Jeff Reichman tracks evictions across Harris County. He says the pandemic slowed cases. There were eviction moratoriums, rental assistance, and stimulus.
Wait a minute. Hold on. Wait. Give me a second. Let me see something. Just 1 second. Give me 1 second. I just got to see something.
Anton, don't
What
do that.
what is going on? Wait. I just need to know. Is there a reason? Do we need to start the show like an hour later or what? What is going on, Carrie?
No, I had to work out, and Joe's going out of town today, so that was my excuse. But I'm here. I'm in. I'm tapped in.
Okay. All right, Carrie. I got you.
Okay.
All right, bye.
Bye.
I need to listen. I am very keenly aware of what's going on with my people. When I see y'all slide in talking about good morning, everybody, come on back to the front of the congregation. Let me see what's going on out here in these streets. I need to know what is going on. Why are the people late? Let's continue to talk about these evictions in Houston.
Checks. Those are gone. Reichman says unless more affordable housing options are available, the situation may get worse.
It's almost as if all the good work that was done to prevent evictions during the pandemic came roaring back with a vengeance.
And you know why it came roaring back? Because there was no good work. A moratorium staving off eviction, giving people a bunch of stimulus checks, giving them handouts is not the thing. Nope, Q was here on time. Q was here on time today. Q was here in the very beginning of the show. Giving people a moratorium does not solve their problem in being able to help themselves through this eviction process. It is just, it's coming. It's coming. You knew when you signed on the dotted line that you wasn't going to be able to pay your rent. Most people know that they're not going to be able to endure through it. This ain't even survival. This is like panhandling at this point. Honestly, what we see happening in the housing market and the rental market, even with homeowners, I'm going to get to the homeowners in a minute. What we see happening in the rental market is not even survival anymore. It's panhandling. It's one day at a time. I'm praying. I'm going to try to figure it out. I'm over there. I got to figure out what kind of man I can get on my side. I know why y'all trying to get all of these good men. Evictions notices. It's getting cold outside. Keep on talking about you looking for a good man. When? You wasn't looking for a good man when you ain't have to turn that heat on in the summertime. Oh, now City Boys is up. Nope. City Boys. Inflation. She gonna have to put in double the work in order to get the same. City Boys. I say y'all been learning. So now again, like I said in the very beginning of this show, we gonna translate it over to that other thing, right? Everything is interconnected. So the way that you operate within your finances should be the same way that you operate in your relationships. When she didn't want you, back then she didn't want you. Now she all on you. Inflation. It's called inflation. The price is doubled. That means she got to work twice as hard for your attention. The price went up. The price of the brick went up. City Boys is up all of a sudden. You know how homes sell more in the spring and the summer? In the winter, it get a little bit more depressed. She in a bind, Nate. Yeah, she ain't got no tires on her car. Listen, she not just getting evicted. Her whole life is messed up. Her tires are bald. I pulled up next to a chick today on everything. I could hear her brakes through my music when my windows and my heat was on and my music was turned up. I could hear her brakes. I looked over to her. I said, my people in the chat gonna say she in the bind, Nate. That's right, Kaiser. Yesterday's price is not today's price. Yesterday's price is not today's price. Tires is bald on the car. Transmission fluid need to be changed. Oil is orange. You know what I'm saying? She one step away from getting fired. She on a PIP. The performance improvement plan. She knows she can't meet the expectations. She's still waking up late for work. Hey, listen. next time your girl wake up late for work, just say inflation and then just go back to sleep. Because you know that she know, because she told you the day before, I can't be late no more. And then when she get late for work and she keep on sleeping through her alarm, just say to yourself, just say within yourself, inflation. Go back to sleep.
Knowing this, change is happening in a place you may not expect it. Justice of the Peace, Precinct 7, Place 1, isn't just a place where evictions occur. Adams launched Behind the Bench, Justice of the Peace. Outside the courtroom, tables are filled with organizations offering people ways to go to school, find a job, or learn about legal or rental assistance.
If that was me on the other side, I want someone to care about me. I would want someone to care about me. And normally when they leave, some of them say that they didn't even know that these resources was available.
Assistance school learned about today.
Y'all wild. Y'all wild in the chat. Y'all are in. I got the best chat in the world.
Boost she may need, because after today, she may not know what will happen next.
It's kind of been tough.
Look, you see that? You see that air conditioner in there? No central air. It's getting cold outside. All she got is cold air. She ain't got no hot air coming in. It's tough in Houston. It's tough in Houston. I ain't gonna cap. It's tough in Houston. Yo, I have never seen more people DMing me knowing that I'm a married man. People DMing me, hey, yo, I didn't even know that they were still doing hey, big head. Hey, big head, what you been doing? Trying to stay in touch with you. That's what they keep saying with me. Hey, what's going on? How you been? Trying to stay in touch with you. I've been following you online. Have you? Have you been following me online? What did you see? I see you coming up. You passed the 200,000 mark. Trying to get like you. Word. Look, I'm thinking that they just giving me some love, right? They showing me some love. Keep on hitting me up talking about, what's going on? I thought you was just showing me some love. Then all of a sudden, they hit me with this. Man, you know I ain't in no relationship no more. Like, where'd that come from? You know I'm a married man, right? Yeah, I just need a little bit of insight. Are you trying to get a free coaching call? Something like that. Oh, okay, let me see how I can help you. Cool. So what happened? You want to come over and talk about it? No, I don't want to come over there and talk about it. I know your rent is late. I know rent due. You ain't finessing time, dog, out here in these streets. I'm saying, they trying to get time dog to come over there and give them the come up. She says you want a coaching call in person. She said she want a coaching call in person. All right. We got to get to the real estate part. Let me stop joking around. Y'all ain't no good in the chat. Y'all bad influences on me. Let's get to the real estate part. We need to see what's going on in the market so I can give y'all some game that's going to help y'all throughout y'all life, all right?
Welcome back. Mortgage rates racing towards 8% now, locking home buyers out of the market with mortgage demand plummeting to a nearly 3-decade low. Joining us now, Bright MLS chief economist Lisa Sturdivant. Lisa, great to have you on the program. Thanks for being here. Biggest concern right now is that rates are going up, and given the jobs numbers we saw today, maybe they're going to go up even more from here. But prices are not coming down as quickly as people want. So the market has basically stalled and inventory is low. What are you supposed to do? I mean, housing is a #1 need for many of us out there. How do you navigate this market?
No, absolutely, right? With elevated mortgage rates and prices that are continuing to rise, we've seen affordability hit an all-time low. And for prospective homebuyers in the market, it has only gotten more challenging.
So this is what you are facing, all right? 2.5 years ago, you was getting 2.5%, 3% interest rates, right? And the cost of a home because a lot of you guys look at homes as assets, and it's some multiple different ways that you need to be able to look at this. And we're going to slice this today, all right? Because you look at homes as assets, and they should be depending on how you're leveraging them, most people thought that home ownership was just their name on the mortgage to pay for the next 30 years, in which they continue to pull the value of it out in order to continue to buy the things that they don't need, or even to get repairs on the home. Some people are not being irresponsible. They just don't know any better, right? And so what most people do, or what they experience, is a wake-up call. So let's break this down. A few years ago, you were paying half the price for the brick. Now you're paying interest rates in a 30-year fixed mortgage. Now remember, I always advocated for y'all to make sure that you're not house poor. Buy the thing that you need in order to be able to survive, not the thing that you want because you're not there yet. It's a time and place for buying the thing that you want. You need to buy the thing that you need. Don't let nobody criticize you. Don't let nobody shame you into thinking that you're supposed to have a bigger place that costs more expensive based off of your income instead of based off of the lifestyle that you're trying to project yourself to have, okay? So first of all, 15-year rates is significantly lower, not a whole lot, but significantly lower than 30-year rates. So right now, 30-year rates is about 7.5%. I have news for you. Now, this is just my opinion. I am not an analyst. I'm just paying attention to what it is that's happening in the market, and inflation is still higher than they want it to be. They would prefer for inflation to be at around 2%. Inflation is still high. Interest rates are going up. They don't have any choice. Interest rates are still going to go up. I project that this time next year, we're going to be talking about interest rates at around 10%. That's just my opinion. I believe that interest rates are going to be at 10%. How does this help the real estate market? Well, for one, it prevents it from being a flood of inventory, which gives it the illusion that the housing market is still healthy. The housing market is not healthy. The housing market is experiencing several different things. The first thing that you have to compete with is obviously higher interest rates, because we've conditioned our minds to believe that everything is based off of financing in order to get yourself into it. I would bet that you didn't know that based off of interest rates, when you finance that house and you make every single payment, right? You make all of those payments for the next 30 years, you make 360 payments. Can you imagine making 360 payments? Gosh. Is it 320? 320 payments or 360 payments? 360 payments? 360 payments. Can you imagine financing something to where you had to consistently be on time for 360 payments? That's a lifetime. I don't look at home ownership the same way that you do. I'm a patient man. I don't look at home ownership the same way that you do. We are different. 306, and you're going to pay for it longer than that. And the worst part about it is that by the time you get done paying for that house, if you decide not to refinance or you decide not to pull a home equity loan, a HELOC out of the property, you're going to pay more than triple for that property. Meaning that after all of the interest payments, now we didn't even calculate property taxes, that's going to continue to rise. Maintenance fees, nope. Insurance, utilities, because the total cost of a home is not just based off of what it is that you're paying in a mortgage. And we didn't even throw PMI in there, because 9 times out of 10, you're not even putting 20% down. You're putting 3.5% down. And when you look at that payment, that voucher, that statement, and it shows you your last payment, how much went to principal and how much went to interest, and you see, especially in the first 10, 15 years of that mortgage payment, that the majority of it went to interest and you didn't even really pay down on the principal, that gotta burn you. I want you to get mad today. I want you to be absolutely, positively disgusted. I want you to be incensed at the idea that you fell into this whole gamification of credit in order to get you to finance a home to make banks richer because you allowed for somebody else to market to you that it was better to own than to rent without getting all of the insight and information on what the context is as to why it is better to own and to rent and how you should leverage your house as an asset and look at it differently in order to continue to make more money. We gonna get there. We gonna get there. Again, I explained to you in the very beginning of this live stream that how you are in one thing is supposed to be translated all the way across the board. You making that $2,500 mortgage payment, that $3,000 mortgage payment, you gonna make 360 of them. Let me pull up my calculator real quick. You're gonna make 360 mortgage payments. 360 times 3,000. By the time you pay off that house, you're going to have spent just in payments. This don't even have nothing to do with mortgage insurance. This don't have nothing to do with PMI. This don't have nothing to do with homeowners insurance, nothing to do with maintenance. When you have to take out that home equity loan of credit in order to make sure that you can fix the roof, the water heater is going to go out, the HVAC system going to have to be replaced, leaves, everything. You're going to spend over $1 million alone, just in payments for the house if you keep up and the bank don't take it in year 26. Almost $1.1 million. Has anybody ever explained it to you? Has anybody broke it down to you that way? And you know what the worst part about it is? Affordability is going crazy. Even though people are dropping the prices of the house, you're still going to be paying more based off of how much you financed it for and for the interest. Let's continue.
We've seen that for some people, the decision has just been to sit out the market because in some markets, rents are coming down and renting may be the better option at this point. And for others, there's just been a lot more creativity that has had to go into the home buying process, whether that's buying with family members, looking at adjustable rate mortgages, or finding other ways to get into this really tough market.
Wow, I think some people, when they think about inventory and not having a lot of options at the moment, they might think maybe a new home, a newly built home might be the route to go and kind of put off that home buying purchase maybe until a new home is built online 6 months, a year down the road, hoping for better conditions, right? But I was taking a look at home builder sentiment, and that dropped recently after rising earlier this year. If anyone is following along with how home builders are feeling, if they're not as optimistic now as we have an inventory crunch, what does that say to a buyer who might think a new home could be possible for them?
Yeah, I think that's right. We've seen a lot of home buyers who maybe have gone to the lots of new build developments. They might not have expected to be looking at new construction, but that's what's available. And we have seen recently, though, builders who have been having to offer concessions to keep those buyers on their lots, whether it's buying down points on their mortgage or offering amenities into the new home. And so I think home builders are very sensitive to the fact that home buyer demand is going to have to retract as we hit these 8% levels because for some buyers, the numbers just simply aren't penciling out anymore.
That 8% is coming. And you know what the worst part about dealing with a home builder is that you think you get in a new house and they cookie cutter that junk and they slide and they cut corners and all of that. And it all looks good on the outside and that junk ain't nothing but a flimsy piece of garbage all the way across the board. But the idea of home buying and home ownership is enticing to you because it's the gamification of people in order to ensure that they stay solidly in the middle class and for you to make the banks rich, right? So Anton, well, what is the solution? What is the solution? What should we do? New home sales are absolutely plummeting. Why? Not because the market isn't robust. You put a home on the market right now, you guaranteed to practically sell it, especially if you're in a hotter market. You guaranteed to be able to sell it. Well, one of the reasons why home ownership is declining as far as the new home sales is that less homes are being put on the market because then people have to move somewhere And they don't want to move because then they have to finance at a higher interest rate than whatever it is that they got going on right now. That's the whole idea behind cheap money. Cheap money is how much money do you have to spend or how much do you have to pay on interest in order to secure this loan versus how much more money would I have to pay for that same thing. The interest rate is what then defines it as cheap money. So a lot of people that didn't finance, they not willing to leave because they got it at such a lower rate that even if the house was really, really expensive, unless they can pay cash for the next one, they're unwilling to move because they can't really afford to. They can't afford the payments that's going to come along with financing a new home. And so you're at a catch-22. You're stuck between a rock and a hard place because the buyers want to buy, and then anything that hit the market, and then on top of it, let me put the cherry on top of it before I really give you a solution. On top of it, the cherry on it is that the safest place that institutional investors are finding themselves to be in is in, ta-da, housing. It's housing. So you're not just competing against regular buyers. You're competing against institutional investors, meaning large companies are buying up swaths of land in order to continue to leverage the market, to continue to inflate prices, and then get you in a home in order to ensure that they still fatten in their pockets. So you're not just competing against regular people. You're competing against entire conglomerates and machines. Well, what is the solution? Somebody said, is it better to pay off your student loans before you buy? I always suggest that people get rid of all of their consumer debt. The first thing that you have to do is you got to be able to manage a budget more effectively. But you guys need to start thinking outside of the box and start looking at alternative solutions. When the market was hot, and I'm not going to give y'all all of the Patreon game, but when the market was hot, right, and the interest rates was really low and everybody was paying, because even when interest rates was low, that wasn't the entirety of the conversation. People were paying $100,000, $150,000 over market price because interest rates were low, and there was such a huge level of competition in order to get into a home during the pandemic. And so people were going without inspections. They got more house than they can buy. They not doing a total calculation. They're not really understanding what comes along with it. The first thing that you have to do when you start to get into real estate or you start to think about a home, right, is first you got to think about your lifestyle. For me, I will never probably live in a home that I own, ever. Because I rent where I live, and then I look at the homes as an asset that has to generate me revenue, right? So I'm always going to put somebody in the home that I own in order to maintain generating that revenue, because I have to get rid of the money, and I'm always going to rent where I live. Significantly cheaper for me to rent where I live, especially considering the entirety of the costs that come along with it. I will never, ever pay a mortgage for a house that I want to live in. And then also on top of that, all of the additional residences that I then have at my disposal is literally in my business names. So I'll give you an example. I just went and looked at a property. It's an all glass building, just signed up for the penthouse, right? Y'all actually going to see a video of it today on this channel. So it'll probably drop at around 8 p.m. Eastern. And it cost me about $10,000 a month for it. I actually was talking to y'all about it over the weekend. And it's in my business name. So we're using it literally to entertain. I already have a separate residence that my daughter lives, work, and play, goes to school from, whatever, so on and so forth, that I use, that I live in. This residence is not necessarily for anything other than to entertain clients. When I got people coming in town, when I got to do an interview, if we need to have an event, if we want to use a rooftop, so on and so forth. This event is 100% for business. It is in my business name. We're using it exclusively for business. We're using it for clients. We're using it to bring people in order to do business. We got some clients over in Tampa, over in Florida. We got some clients over in LA. When we have meetups and stuff like that, we're going to leverage it as an opportunity for us to not only save money when it comes to bringing in people for interviews and clientele and all of that other type of stuff, but we're also going to leverage it to entertain and then hopefully secure new business. If you're not reading between the lines, then you just don't get it. I think that people need to start thinking outside of the box. First, get rid of all of your debt. Secondly, you need to make sure that you reduce the amount that you're paying for your houses, because you don't want it to be based off of what your budget is. You want it to be based off of how fast you can start to look at it as an asset. As long as you have to pour money into it, it's an asset, but it's not an asset that I think is generating you revenue, because the amount that you're going to pay after the end of it is going to be egregiously high when you take into all of the costs. If you look at everything from a business perspective, let's put it like this, right? If it costs me X amount of dollars in order to run this business, I take everything into consideration. How much it's going to cost me in employees, how much it's going to cost me in electricity, how much it's going to cost me as far as getting the inventory, servicing, shrink, insurance, rent, pay myself, the whole 9 yards, right? We don't look at that. And again, I keep telling y'all this in the beginning of the live stream and even now, we don't look at what we're doing as a business. We keep looking at it as personal. Everything is business. So when I start to take that into consideration, what I want y'all to start calculating is, what is the true cost of home ownership? The true cost of home ownership is everything all included. When you make a payment, when you have to service that property, when you have to pay PMI, when you have to pay for whatever it is that come along with it, maintenance, fees, homeowners insurance, property taxes, bake all of that in, calculate it up, and then make sure that you start to understand what the true cost of home ownership is. That's how you should start structuring your budget, and not based off of what the payment is. They're going to tell you, well, make sure that your home payment is less than 30%, less than 25%. It's not your payment. It's the true cost of home ownership in general. All right? The fastest way to be able to eliminate the true cost of home ownership is to pay it off quicker. The more money you have to allocate towards A, putting a 20% down payment. B, if you want to get a 15-year instead of a 30, that means you got to get a smaller house. C, make sure that you pay it off quicker. That means that you're actually using the cost of home ownership and reducing that, because you don't have to pay as much in interest throughout the life of the loan. Stop living your life based off of payments. Stop living your life based off of how much it's going to cost you and how much of your budget is it going to take up in order for you to continue to get money. That should not be the conversation. The real conversation is, what is the total cost of this transaction? When you buy a car, right? Don't just base it off of how much is it going to cost me as far as my car payments. Base it off the interest rate. Base it off the maintenance. How much is it going to cost you gas? How much is it going to cost you insurance? So on and so forth. Stop being easily marketed to in order for the banks to make a lot of money off of you. If you need to, go and buy land. Go and buy it in a place that may be less desirable. Fix it up, right? Buy land, start to understand, okay, when I start to do these calculations, and we going through this in the Patreon, it's funny because my first property that I actually built, I built the basement, right? But I saved a significant amount of money in a completely different environment that may be a little bit better. The lot may be smaller, but I'll make more money from it long term, because the cost of me actually taking out, not building a basement and using a slab, because I'm learning as I go, right? I'm actually closing on another property this week, so I'm going to break that down in the Patreon for y'all also. I'm using a slab instead of actually building a basement, right? That area doesn't actually cost for me to do that. This is too much sauce. I can't do this. I can't keep giving this to y'all. It allows for me to be able to even vet effectively the type of tenants that I'm going to bring inside of the property, because I'm able to reduce the cost and pass that over into the consumer. When you think about home ownership, don't look at it as home ownership. Look at it as shelter, okay? Shelter is what you need to have a roof over your head in order for you to be safe. And then also, your monies may be better allocated to something that'll generate you more revenue, instead of just plowing it all into a home based off of the idea of home ownership. Listen. Your goal is to get rich. Your goal is to increase your wealth. Your goal is to increase your net worth. For you, depending on what your lifestyle and each individual's journey is different, that may not necessarily be attached to home ownership in a specific market that you grew up in. You may need to move to a different market. You may not even be living in the United States of America for the rest of your life. Your costs may be significantly reduced depending on what your lifestyle is. I know guys that joined the military that don't even have a home. I know people that are RNs or people that are traveling nurses that don't even have a home. They just have a place to where they can store their stuff, and they spend all of their money, or they take all of their resources and they invest it in things that then make them more money long term, because they don't need. It's a stipend that comes along with their lifestyle. You have to evaluate your individual goals based off of what you're trying to do and not based off of what anybody else is trying to tell you, because they're going to throw you off of your course and your purpose, and they're going to distract you from the thing that's actually going to help you make more money long term. Your goal is to increase your net worth, not necessarily look at a home, because that is a way in which the banks market to you to continue to get 30-year mortgages so that you can pay interest on it in order to gamify you staying in the middle class. Your goal is to increase your net worth. That's according to your lifestyle. Your budget need to be accordingly, and you need to get rid of the debt. And then you can start to think clearer about what it is that you're trying to do and what your long-term goal is that comes along with that. Then you'll start to think outside of the box. Then we can mine it out on an individual basis, right? Do you really even need a big home? Why do older people then downsize and then they fix their homes up in order to be able to sell it, and they never truly enjoyed it the way that somebody else is going to when they sell it to them? I'm never home. Why would I need a 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 square foot crib and I'm not there? I may be building a life for when my daughter graduates to where I live 100% of my time on the road. I may just need something small here as a main residence, and then the rest of it is going to be write-offs because I may be traveling and vlogging and being a travel vlogger as a result of it, and then that ties back into my business. If you go over to Chicago, or let's just say, for example, basketball players tend to choose areas where they have lower state taxes or they don't have any state taxes, which then incentivizes them to actually play in that particular market. So they may move over to Texas, or they go to Houston or San Antonio because it's more conducive for them to keep money. Their determining factor for whether or not they're going to go to a specific franchise has nothing to do with a ring. It has everything to do with whether or not they got state taxes that's going to then pour money into their pocket long term. Maybe your job, a part of your compensation package, depending on what it is that you're doing. You can negotiate housing. They have corporate housing. They have company housing that they will allow for you to stay in for an extended period of time, to where you don't have to then pay the property taxes or then fork over a bunch of money. And if you're not living in that property for at least 10 to 15 years, the true cost of that is actually going to be worse for you as far as home ownership, because you may not necessarily appreciate. And then on top of that, you got to pay the fees that come along with selling the property from a real estate perspective. Every situation is different. Everything is different, but you have to reverse engineer it based off of where you're trying to go, not necessarily where you're at. Ask yourself so many questions versus just jumping into home ownership saying that I got to do it because I got to live here. You may be able to write some stuff off if you finesse it a little bit differently and you actually need to use something from a business perspective versus using it as your main residence. Ask yourself the question before you just jump into home ownership from a marketing perspective, because you may be losing money if you don't understand how money works. Everybody just keep throwing out that name, real estate, real estate, real estate, and people getting killed. People are absolutely getting destroyed out here. They're getting raked over the coals. Raked over the coals all day long. Real estate can be a vehicle for wealth, but it may not necessarily be for everybody. If you don't understand it, you're going to find yourself stuck between a rock and a hard place.